Hello viewers! Today I'm going to do the traditional BMW N57 video, and today we're going to work on this BMW F10, and let me show you on what mileage the car is. I promise the owner that I'm going to do some brief video about this repair because he wants to do everything as it's supposed to be done. So let's see on what mileage is the car. So yeah, the car actually runs pretty good without any issues, at least as I know. Right now the engine is cold, but right now the car is at 268,000 kilometers. I cannot tell is it real or not. If the car has full history in BMW, probably you can going to know, but this doesn't matter for me, guys. When you do everything as it's supposed to be done, the car should run without any issues. Hopefully, because as we know, these N57s are not really reliable, and even if you do everything as it's supposed to be done, sometimes they fail for no reason at all. So we're going to do timing chains, we're going to do bearings, we're going to do oil pump, and everything, all the accessories around the engine if needed. So we're going to start with the removal of the engine with the gearbox, because when I'm doing the bearings I always remove the engine. I don't do it while it's in the car because I cannot do my measurements properly while the engine is installed in the car. At least for me it's impossible. That's why I'm going to remove it, and we're going to check everything. Okay, so a few words. I have removed those covers and pretty much all the decorational covers on the top. And if I need to be honest, the car looks pretty good. All the bolts and these plastic tops are in place, which is pretty impressive for F10 because these cars are getting old. It's pretty obvious that somebody have been here and everything have been cleaned up because there was some leakage for sure. And as we can see, the oil pan is leaking, the gearbox is leaking here. Yeah, it's pretty fresh and pretty substantial because as we can see up here, the engine is pretty obvious that have been cleaned and washed up. The owner actually just bought this car, and this is going to be the first service of this engine, and the first service is going to be a major service because once again we're going to change the bearings and the chains with the oil, of course. Probably some issues with this steering rack because as we can see here, we are missing the plastic cover for the cables. So not sure what they have done here and why they didn't install it, but yeah, it's missing. But other than this, everything seems that it haven't been touched in a long time. Okay, so the engine is out with everything. So we have removed it with the front axle, with the gearbox, as all the times we are doing it. So pretty much everything seems pretty kind of good. Probably he has some leakage from the gearbox because there is some signs of leakage. Yeah, from here probably. But most of the leakage is from the valve cover, which most of you are going to know that if you replace only the gasket, most of the time it's going to continue to leak because these new rocker covers are bending, and no matter what you're doing, they're going to continue to leak. So the only solution is to go with a brand new valve cover. I know it's expensive, but yeah, this is the only way to go. So I can believe all of here looks in one piece without anything broken down. Yeah, this have been removed, as we can see. Somebody have been here, so I did not move it. So somebody have some work here, but pretty much everything looks in one piece. 99% of the time here we have a carnage. So right now it looks pretty decent without anything missing. Yeah, even the original zip tie from BMW. Pretty much this is it. Now I'm going to start disassembling everything. I'm going to remove all the accessories, especially the DPF and the turbocharger, so to be able to install the engine on the engine stand, so to be able to rotate it, because once again we're going to check the bearings, we're going to change the chains, and as we know, the chains are behind here, and this means we're going to need to attach the engine on the side, which I have a special engine stand for this, which I'm selling. Yeah, I know. So now I'm going to start disassembling little by little, and I'm going to show you when I clean it a little bit from all the accessories, because right now you cannot see pretty much anything because of all the plastics and wirings. Okay, so after a little bit of disassembly, the valve cover is out and pretty much the timing chain is uncovered. So here it is. I decided to check the timing. So right now, as you can see, the working of the flywheel, the working pin is applied in the hole. Actually, we have two holes, but you can easily miss this with this hole. But as you can see, this hole is looking a little bit different. As you can see, it's a little bit longer, and you cannot fit the walking pin on this hole, so you can fit it only here. So right now is engaged, and if you look on the camshaft walking tool, we can see that easily the bridge is not sitting flat on the cylinder head. Yeah, you can move it backward and forward a little bit, the camshaft, to get it closer, but even when I done this, still it's far away from the cylinder head, so the timing is a little bit off, and still the engine was running perfectly fine. Now we're going to do our best to do it a little bit better than this, but this is how far we are from the cylinder head. So this is not a small difference, but still there is some. So now I'm going to continue with the disassembly. Once again, the valve cover is out, and yeah, I have decided to remove the exhaust manifold because I saw that it has some leakage, exhaust leakage on it, on the gaskets. If you don't have leakage from the exhaust manifold, you can leave it like that, but I decided to remove it while the engine is out. Now is the perfect time to redo the job with the exhaust manifold gasket. And yeah, I'm going to change the water pump. These pulleys actually are in good condition. I'm not going to touch them. As for the crankshaft pulley, it's still in good condition. The rubber seems good, doesn't matter the rust here. And what else? Yeah, this is it. I'm going to continue with the removal of the flywheel and the cover for the timing chains, and yeah, the oil pan, and we're going to see how everything else looking like. So the flywheel is out, the timing chain cover is out, and here it is, all the timing components. Actually, if I need to admit it, this engine looks pretty clean inside. One of the cleanest engines that I have opened in the past few months, so it looks pretty clean inside, for sure. And if we look on the sides of the timing chain guides, we can clearly see that this is the original timing chain guide. So if we look the year here, 2012, and yeah, the other numbers are the months, and yeah, we can see the same on the other timing chain guides. It's kind of hard to see it on camera, but once again 2012, and the same on the oil pump. So this is the original timing chain, and if I don't remember wrong, this engine was on 260,000 kilometers, and yeah, it has some wear on the chain, as you can see here. I haven't removed the tensioner, and as you can see, it has some wear, but I have seen much worse than this. Yeah, probably was going to run for several thousand kilometers, but yeah, it's a good idea to change it for sure, because it has some wear on it. But yeah, this is the original timing chain components and oil pump and stuff and everything, and that's why, once again, if you change your oil regularly, you're going to have much longer lifespan of the timing chain components, because I know a lot of engines, N57s, which has less mileage than this, and I already had an issue with the timing chains and with the bearings, of course. But this one, probably because of the frequent servicing, it looks much more promising. And if I need to guess before removing all the bearings, the conrod bearings are going to be in very good shape. Probably the main bearings are going to be changing, but I think we're going to keep the bearings of the conrods. We're going to check that, of course, but just my betting from my experience. So now I'm going to start removing all of the components, the timing chain components. Once again, I had one video on which I'm timing up this engine, and few people were saying that I have timed it wrongly. As we saw before a minute or two, I showed that I have timed the engine through the flywheel, through the hole of the flywheel, which was right here. So I have timed it here. And now, after removing the timing chain cover, as we can see, once again here, we can time up the crankshaft on this thread here, as I'm showing on my video. The only difference is when you're going to work on N47, which is the 4-cylinder diesel engine. But if you're working on 6-cylinder diesel engine, the timing is with this tool. So you're going to locate it like that, and you're going to work the crankshaft through this thread here with a bolt. Okay, so everything is pretty much removed. The crankshaft, all the caps, the main and the conrod caps, everything is sorted up here. So I'm going to show you the condition of all of the bearings. Yeah, I didn't use the hammer to remove it. I just removed some seals. So here is the crankshaft. It looks pretty good actually, the journals especially. It looks pretty good. Yeah, it has some groove from the main crankshaft seal, the rear one, as all the crankshafts is. So hopefully it's going to seal up. So the main bearings. So here it is, the first one. As usual, pretty weared up because of the serpentine belt, because it's making some tension on this side. It is wearing it up. All the rest are looking kind of good, but as usual, the last one once again is weared out because of the tension of the timing chain. So pretty much all the time you're going to have much more wear on the two end bearings, on number 1 and number 7. So yeah, the biggest wear is on number 7, as you can see here. So let me show you the bearings on the cups. So let's start with cup number 1. As we can see, once again the discoloration here. It's kind of boring, but I'm going to show you all of them. So this is the other one. Actually, I was expecting this because the car is on 260,000, as I told you. Because of the relatively good service intervals, they are going to run for a couple of thousand kilometers more. I'm talking about the main bearings, but if we talk about the conrod bearings, it's totally different story. I'm going to show you because, as I told you before a few minutes, this is the last one. Let me show you the first and the last. So once again, the first one, as we can see, it's pretty weared out, and the last one, I'm showing you the last two ones because they had the biggest wear on the cylinder box side. And the conrod bearings, as I was expecting, the cups bearings are looking like brand new ones, and pretty much all of them are looking like that, with just small amount, this is a little bit oily, with just small amount of discoloration, at least on the cups. On the cups, if they were looking like that on the conrods, like on the cups, probably we were not going to touch them. But if we take a closer look on the conrod bearings, which are on the conrod side, as you can see, they are getting gray, dark grayish. And as we know, as we can see on the cup, this is how almost a brand new bearing should look like. Still, it has some small wear, but as we can see on the conrod side, it's getting darker. All of them are looking like that, as we can see, all of them, which means in the perfect case scenario we're going to need to replace all of the bearings on the main bearings, on the conrods, with the bolts and everything. If it was me, I was going to replace all of them, plus the oil pump. The oil pump is a mandatory to be changed. Doesn't matter if you're going to replace the bearings, at least change your oil pump. This is the main failure point. So now I'm going to talk with the owner. I'm going to ask him what he wants to do. If we need to do it budget wise, we can replace only the main bearings. The conrod bearings probably going to run for the next 50 or 100,000 kilometers, if I need to be honest. But if you plan to drive the car longer than this, for sure you're going to want to change the conrod bearings also. As you know, on every BMW engine, the biggest issue is the conrod bearings, but only on N57 and N47, the main bearings is the biggest issue. Because of the tension forces which the crankshaft is making, because this engine is making a lot of torque, and I guess from BMW they haven't calculated the crankshaft tunnel to accept these tension forces from all of this torque. I believe this is the main issue. I know some people have different theories about this, but I believe this is the main issue. So let's see what the owner is going to want. Meanwhile, I'm going to check what bearings we're going to need to order. I have a really detailed video about this. I'm going to post it in the details below. Now I'm going to see what we're going to do, and we're going to see each other after a few minutes. But for me it's going to be several days, I guess, because there will be some time until the the parts came. Okay, so after, I don't know, maybe a week or something like that, all the bearings and the bolts are here. So the owner decided to change all the bearings, not only the main bearings. This is the conrod bearings. They are the upper and the lower shell is different. So this is all the upper or all the bottom. I'm going to check the number. As you can see, we have 6 for the cap and 6 for the conrod itself. This is the bolt for the main bearing caps. This is the bolt for the conrod caps. The design is different. The older design is with hexagon bolt, and the newer type is with Torx bolt. So this is the newer design. This is the lettering on the cylinder block. As you can see here, they are all Qs, which means all the bearings which are facing the cylinder block side should be green. And on the crankshaft, I'm going to show you a little bit later, we have 5 green and 2 yellow bearings, which I don't remember the numbers right now. I'm going to check them, and so I'm going to open them up. We're going to start doing some measurements, but because I have a detailed video, really detailed video about this procedure, I'm not going to show you. I'm just going to show you the clearance when I measure everything. So the owner decided to take my advice and change the valve cover. This is the new valve cover in this box here. Yeah, we're going to change the oil pump. This is the new oil pump, once again made in Italy. And the rest is pretty obvious. We're going to change all the timing components with OEM new parts. Once again, BMW have revised some of the timing chain components, and we're going to install the latest version of it. And because for some reason, I don't know why, but this engine especially is N57 D30A, which means the first generation of N57. And for some reason, on some of these engines, on the oil pan and on the timing chain cover, have gaskets installed from the factory. But this once again is A version, the first generation, and it has only a silicone, doesn't have any gaskets either on the timing chain cover or either on the oil pan. That's why when an engine like this comes, I prefer to buy the OEM silicone, which is this one, and this is the brand, Henkel. So this is the OEM silicone from BMW. I don't know why BMW is doing this. It's so much better to use just a gasket and don't make a big mess with these silicones, but for some reason they have decided to do it like that. I am not exactly sure. Can I install a open gasket here when it's not installed from the factory? I haven't tried, and yeah, if it was my car, probably I was going to try it, but when it's customer's car, I'm going to do it like it was installed from the factory. So that's why I have bought the original silicone. It's a little bit more expensive, but hopefully it's going to do better job. Okay, so I have measured the bore of the crankshaft. Everything seems fine except this main bearing bore. It has some deviation, but it's still in spec, so it should not make any issues. Now I have started install all the bearings, and the new bearings, the new style bearings, as we can see, they came like that. So this is number 801, and previously the old style bearings had some painting on it, because this is number 2, as you can see here, and should be green one, but right now we don't have any painting on it, because BMW have decided that they're going to leave only the number, which probably is going to be easier for the people that are working on these engines, because you're just going to need to check what number it's supposed to be on certain journal, and you're going to install the same number. So in our case, on the cylinder box side, everything is number 2. So all the bearings should be number 2, as we can see. So as we saw, all the cylinder box side bearings were number 2, but on the crankshaft, if we take a closer look, we're going to see that. So we have 5 2s and 2 1s, and on number 1 we have 2, number 2 we have 2, number 3 we have 1, and so on. So the only ones that we have are on number 3 and on number 7 main bearing cap. So let me show you. Here are all the main bearing caps from 1 to 7, as we can see the numbering here. So as I told you, on number 3 and on number 7 we have number 1s. So here is, first of all, this is number 1, and on number 7 once again number 1, and all the rest are with number 2s. Let me show you. This is number 5. Number 4 is the axial bearing, which is once again number 2, and the rest 2. Number 1 cap, once again with number 2. So this is the idea. We check all the numbering on the crankshaft and the cylinder block. Now I'm going to install all the caps, but this time I'm going to install the plastic gauge because I want to see the exact clearance between the bearings and the journals of the crankshaft. So let me install them and I'm going to show you what is the clearance with the new bearings. Okay, so this is the results of all the journals. So let me show you the clearance on all of the journals. This is actually number 7 because this is the rear of the engine. So it's bigger than 0.38 by a smidge, but smaller than 0.25. So roughly probably 0.35, something like that. Here is roughly 0.38. Here is once again bigger than 0.38. But little bit smaller than 0.25. Here it's 0.38 pretty much, and on the last journal pretty much the same as the other, little bit, yeah, around 0.025. yeah, actually just a smidge smaller, so 28 let's say. But still this should be in spec. Spec was from 0.20 to 0.60, somewhere around that, so this should be fine. So pretty much now I'm going to remove the crankshaft. I'm going to put some assembly loop on the new bearings, and I'm going to install once again the crankshaft and tighten up for the final time the new main bearing caps with the new bolts. Okay, so I'm pretty much ready with the main bearings. Everything is torqued to spec with the new bolts and everything. Yeah, I have put assembly loop on the bearings, of course, and now I have started with the conrod bearings. I have installed the bearing on the conrod, and here is the other new bearing which is on the cap, and right now I'm measuring the clearance on cylinder number 2 and cylinder number 5. And let me show you what is the clearance. The spec was from 0015 to 0050, so we are at around between 0.025 and 0.38, so around 0.30 let's say. Here is pretty much the same, so it should be fine. Now I'm going to clean up the plastic gauge. I'm going to put assembly loop on the lower and the upper bearing, and I'm going to use the new bolts for the conrods, which is these ones, and I'm going to torque them to spec. And I'm going to check all the bearings, of course, on all the journals. If I see something different than this spec, which is between 0.025 and 0.038, I'm not going to record it because it's getting boring, but I'm pretty sure that all of them are going to be the same. So pretty much all the bearings are measured and installed and torqued to spec. So after installing all the bearings, yeah, the garbage is full with these little boxes. So all the clearances on the conrods were pretty similar, between 0.025 and 0.038, which is pretty much in the middle of the spec, probably a little bit less than the middle of the spec, but still in spec. So new bolts on the conrods on the main bearing. Now the next step is to continue with the timing chains, which once again we're going to use OEM ones, so I'm going to install them. Once again I have a detailed video how to install this on N57. And a little bit forward, after the installation of the bearings, I have installed a new oil pump with all the new parts, the OEM guides, gears, tensioners, and of course chains. So this is the oil pump chain, which is as usual loose like that, and all the others are snug. So the camshaft chain, the crankshaft chain, all of them are brand new and tight as possible, of course. So brand new bolts here for the camshaft gear. This is for the high pressure fuel pump. Once again new gear. Yeah, you cannot change the crankshaft gear because it's part of the crankshaft. So the important places are here. You're going to need to put a thread locker on the threads of these bolts which are holding this guide, and also you need to put thread locker on these 4 bolts here, here, here and here. And yeah, once again the new type of guides. Everything once again is OEM and the latest revised parts. Don't forget to change your oil nozzle. And now I'm going to continue with the rest of the assembly. I'm going to put some assembly loop behind here, so to be sure that the oil pump is going to good and loop as much as possible. And yeah, pretty much this is it. I'm going to continue with the rest of the assembly, and yeah, I think this was the more interesting part, so I'm going to see when I'm going to do the update. Okay, so a little bit of update. I have tightened up the front crankshaft pulley, the rear flywheel with new bolts everywhere, as you can see, and I have assembled the timing chain cover, the open, yeah, new seal on the level sensor. Yeah, all the crankshaft seals are changed with new ones, of course. New water pump, new gasket for the thermostat housing. Okay, so just proof of concept right now. As we saw, the flywheel is installed and I'm just using the locking pin for the crankshaft, and it should go in this hole here. So as you can see, it locks up the flywheel, and up here is the locking tool, the timing tool for the camshafts, and it should be flat on the cylinder head on the both sides. So here, as we can see, is perfectly flat, and on this side also. And the important thing is the camshaft lobes to point to the exhaust side, in this case here. So as you can see, the both lobes on the camshafts are pointing exhaust side. Okay, so the new valve cover is installed. As you can see, it's OEM from BMW. Here actually, except that it's curving in this place here. It's important that we are changing the diaphragm inside here, which is integrated in the rocker cover. The torque spec is 9 Nm, and I started changing this gaskets of these flanges here. This is the one of it, and this is the flange which I'm going to change, which breaks down from time to time. This is one of the gaskets. Yeah, this is one of the pieces. This is the other one, and yeah, this is the cooler for the gearbox, and this is the oil cooler for the engine. But when I remove it, I saw that something is not right. So as you can see, this thermostat is bended and is broke down the plastic. So yeah, we're going to change that. So as you can see, it's broke down. So let me remove this, and we're going to see how it looks like. It's held by this bolt here. So I have removed the oil core, and here it is. This is what is the issue. As we can see, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to remove it. Yeah, I'm going to be. So yeah, it's something like a thermostat. So yeah, we're probably going to need to search for a new oil filter housing. So I'm going to see how expensive it is, and I'm going to talk to the owner. But yeah, we cannot leave this like this. Okay, so on the next day, actually not on the next, but after 2 days, the new oil filter housing came. So this is how it's supposed to look like, with the plastic in one piece, and the thermostat is not going anywhere for sure. And yeah, pretty much this is it. So now I'm going to install it, and hopefully it's going to work as it's supposed to be. It's OEM part, so it should last at least 10 years, like the old one. The car is 2012, so it lasted around 10 years. So hopefully this is going to do the same. And yeah, after a lot of struggle and a lot of sluggish and cleaning, wall not busting and stuff, I managed to clean up the intake ports of the cylinder head. It took me quite some time. I don't know how many hours to clean them as they are right now. As you can see right now, we can clearly see the valves. Previously it was completely impossible to see them. Yeah, the camera don't want to focus, but all the valves right now are opened up, and this engine is going to breathe much better than before for sure. So yeah, I cannot focus. Yeah, you can see it almost. Okay, so after cleaning the intake ports and installing the new oil filter housing, now, and yeah, we have installed a new coolant flange here, OEM one once again. Now it's time to clean up the intake manifold, which looks disgusting. I'm going to show you how blocked it is. This is one of the ports, this is the other one, which is connecting here, and you can see how bad it is, how much swag it have inside and soot. And the owner was not sure does he want to remove the swerve flaps, because he was thinking that this engine doesn't have issues with the swerve flaps. But I told him that this is not the case, and I'm going to prove you that he had work. So as you can see, this is one of the swerve flaps and it's already broken. So with little bit butt work, more butt work, and this was going to go inside the engine. So he was kind of lucky because he managed to survive with this. All the rest looks kind of good. They are still not broke down, but one of them are completely broke down and it was ready to go inside the engine. So this is how lucky he got. And yeah, they are completely blocked, as we can see, with all of this soot on them. So I'm going to remove the flaps and I'm going to use only the outer flange of them, so to be able to install the gasket here. And yeah, now I'm going to send the intake manifold for cleaning, as with this part of it, because we need to clean it also here. And yeah, I'm going to show you the difference before and after once again. This is how bad it is inside. Okay, and after the cleaning, the difference is from night and day. New gaskets on the both sides. And this is the intake manifold, how it looks like. Now we can clearly see that the soot is gone and now the engine is going to breathe much better. And this is what we're going to install, so to be able to fix the gaskets. And yeah, I'm going to remove this because I have seen that this breaks down, and that's why I cut it and I don't use it. And I'm going to install only this here on the front. Because if you don't install them, the gasket can fall down. That's why we're going to need them. And this is the plug for the swerve flaps, which goes somewhere here, which we're going to install. And pretty much this is it. As we can see how bad it was before and how it looks right now. So pretty much everything is assembled and is ready to be installed back in the car. The only thing that left is to install the DPF in place, which is going to go here. Yeah, the installation for the gearbox, of course, but everything is tightened up. The torque converter, the gearbox, everything is assembled. I have used new nuts for the exhaust manifold. Yeah, now it's going to be a little bit hard to see it, but yeah, here underneath are a little bit easier to be seen. Yeah, new gasket here. We're going to see each other after a second, but for me it's going to be probably a day. Okay, so we have started up the car. Yeah, I didn't record the initial crank up, but for now the car is running smooth as possible, I believe. But as usual, most of the owners want to service the gearbox when we are doing this kind of repairs. And right now we are filling it up with this gearbox ZF8, because this is the 8-speed automatic gearbox, and yeah, we are using the whole kit. We're going to need to wait the exact temperature. I'm monitoring all the temperatures of the engine on the gearbox. So this is on the gearbox and this is on the oil temperature of the engine and on the coolant temperature. Yeah, for the coolant I'm using once again the OEM coolant on BMW. So yeah, we are now topping up the gearbox from here. I have to go through all the gears and going to require a little bit more until it drops down. About this procedure, probably everyone knows, it should reach around 40 degrees and then it should start dripping out from the filling holes. So now we're going to get to operational temperature and we're going to make all the levels, but pretty much I'm ready to assemble all the suspension, the dust covers, and yeah, right now the exhaust manifold is removed, but still this car is kind of quiet. It's not so loud as the petrol ones, and as you can see we are already dripping from here. So for now we're going to close it up until we get to operational temperature, and we're going to see is it require more or less. Okay, so the car is almost assembled. I haven't installed all the plastics because I want to see for some leaks and stuff. I have filled up the coolant, the refrigerant, the oil pretty much, and now I'm monitoring the oil pressure and all the temperatures. Yeah, we have made the gearbox level, and now I'm monitoring, as we can see, the oil pressure, the coolant level, the coolant temperature and the engine oil temperature. So I'm going to do a test drive and we're going to see how it is. Yeah, right now the AC is blowing good enough. I have checked, we have heating. So as you can see, right now we are at 268,000 kilometers, and we saw what is the condition inside the engine. Now I'm going to do some test driving and we're going to see how it behaves. Okay, so driving the car, still everything seems fine. This is the temperatures that we are getting. Still the oil pressure is pretty stable without any issues. We are not overheating or something like that. So yeah, I'm going to keep driving and I'm going to see how it behaves. For now the car seems to be running smooth as possible. Okay, so after the test drive, I drove it around, I don't know, maybe 20 kilometers, something like that. And except the leakage from the, not leakage, the condensation from the AC system, everything else seems dry. The gearbox, the open, the engine, all the things, they look pretty dry without any issues. So yeah, I think everything should be fine. The only thing that left is to install the rest of the dust covers, and yeah, the car is going to be ready to be sent back to the owner. I believe this took around 1 month with waiting of the parts and everything else, which is not small amount of time, but this is how it is with these repairs. There is something always that can make you get slower, but yeah, doesn't matter. So let me assemble everything back together and I'm going to show you the end footage. And everything assembled, everything seems fine, all the plastics are installed. I have topped up the coolant. Yeah, I had some issue with the valves of the AC system, so I replaced them. They were losing some refrigerant, so I needed to replace them, but it doesn't matter. And yeah, the car seems pretty good, it drives pretty well, pretty smooth. So I think this car should last, hopefully, for the next 150,000 kilometers. So okay guys, I just wanted to show you this probably annoying procedure for most of the owners of these cars, but this is how it is with the new cars. It's getting really expensive, but nothing you can do about it. If you want to drive premium car, you're going to need to pay this. Actually, even the low priced cars already have this issue also. Mazda, Toyota, doesn't matter, they have, especially Mazda, they broke down their engines all the time. So this is not only for BMWs. Audi and Mercedes have the same issues with the bearings and stuff. So it's not only BMW, this is all the brands pretty much nowadays. So okay guys, thank you for watching and see you in the next video.